So let's talk about Disney and Marvel. So Disney admits its left-wing policies hurt shareholders. In new SEC filing, Disney is now admitting that it's been slapped by its own customers for its far-left social and political agenda. Legal expert Jonathan Turley wrote in the recent column, Disney's SEC filing, we face risks relating to misalignment with the public and consumer tastes and preferences for entertainment, travel, and consumer products, which impact demand for our entertainment offering and products and that profitability of any of our businesses. We face risk related to changes in our business strategy or restructuring of our business, which has affected and may continue. This past summer, Disney stock had hit a 9-year low with its marketing cap falling from $350 billion in March of 2022 to $154 billion, a decline of, Vinny, you ready? They lost $196 billion in 1 year.
What?
$196 billion, a 56% drop-off in a little over a year. And then at the same time, they're talking about what happened with Wish. Disney's animated musical comedy Wish has a disappointing box office debut, earning approximately $19.5 million over the 3-day Thanksgiving and $31.7 million to 5 days. This film marks Disney's 100th anniversary celebration, features a cosmic force named star and sharp-witted hero named Asha. The Hunger Games and the Battles on the Lines get top now because it comes to 20. So when you see these types of things, and by the way, this is back to back to back to back to back. It's becoming a trend with Disney. You know, Bob Iger wrote a great book called The Ride of a Lifetime. And then he made the mistake of coming back. Okay.
That's right.
This guy comes back, and now the sequel of that book should be A Ride of a Lifetime with a shitty return. Okay. Maybe the best deal maker we've had in the last 40 years. He sat with the biggest alphas and bought their companies. Lucas, Jobs, Murdoch. I don't know how many other names I can say. He's done it all, right? Stud of a guy, great executive. Do you think, one, any of this is his blame? Is it Chapek? Do you think he's sitting there regretting his return? And all in all, why do you think Disney, knowing that this is happening, they continue doing it? Or is it the fact that the pipeline of these movies have taken 3 to 5 years to make that they're kind of like, let's get all these shitty movies out and then we'll change our philosophy next year, but it's going to take us 3 to 5 years to recover with the next movies that are going to come out?
Well, I think there's a lot there to unpack. First, I'll say, is any of it Bob Iger's fault? Of course it is, right? But Bob Iger wasn't uninvolved in setting the stage for what was going to come after him. You know, you're not Bob Iger and then shocked and dismayed to figure out who they replace you with. Bob Iger put a lot of this in place. Yes, one of the great executives of our time. As to why he came back, does Michael Jordan still play basketball? It's almost impossible to ever walk away from the thing that you're uniquely gifted at. And we see it with professional athletes all the time, that they come back after their heyday and do poorly, but they can't walk away from the game. So I get that he can't walk away from the game, and he can't walk away from his legacy, and he's a greater executive than anybody at this table will ever be. But that doesn't mean that he hasn't made his billion-dollar mistakes, and I think he's dealing with one right now. Yes, the window of time that it takes for these things to come out is a huge part of it. If Disney decided today, we're only going to make movies about Bible stories, well, you wouldn't get one of those movies about Bible stories for 3 years. That's just the reality of what that process looks like. So that's part of what they're fighting against. But I think the biggest problem that they have, and I know this from many, many incredibly gifted people within Disney with whom I've spoken over the last year, they fired everyone who knows how to engage in traditional storytelling without all of this woke nonsense in it. They created such a bubble over there that even if Bob Iger does say, if Bob Iger came out today and said, we're not even going to release the crap, we're going to take the hit, and then starting on a day 3 years from today, we're going to relaunch Disney. He doesn't have the team to do it. He said recently, we've waded too far into politics, and now we're gonna not pick these controversial political fights anymore. The people actually working for him who have to effectuate that plan do not know the difference between the controversial things they believe and the uncontroversial things that they believe, because they exist within a company that's a bubble, within an industry that is a bubble, within a city that's a bubble, within a state that's a bubble. That entire, well documented. The right understands the left. We disagree, but we understand. The left does not understand the right. The left does not understand themselves. Disney has engaged in the greatest act of brand suicide that has probably ever happened in recorded history. The most beloved brand, the most goodwill, with the most important people, parents, on behalf of the most vulnerable people, children. We trust Disney for 3 consecutive generations. We as adults trust Disney with our children. Disney helped shape the worldview of every single adult in this country. We trusted them so much that we gave them tax breaks all over the country, like all the goodwill that came their way because they were so unique. And they created the greatest content library ever assembled in all of human history. And then they squandered it. The lesson there for anybody engaged in any kind of business is enormous. That if you think that you are more powerful than your audience, you have completely lost the plot. And Disney has completely lost the plot. I don't think Bob Iger, can he get their share price up over time? Maybe, or maybe he'll just sell it to Apple, which is, I think
what he's trying to do.
I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah. He's going to sell it
Pieces
to Apple.
by pieces, yeah.
He'll sell it to Apple, and it'll become even more radical because Apple can afford, for a time, to be disconnected from the audience. They can't afford it forever.
It's crazy. Same thing with Budweiser. You know what I mean? Bud Light. How insane. How do you even think in that meeting? And I remember the girl that was in charge, Rob. I forgot her name, but she's the one that made the decision. She had all the rainbow stuff and stuff behind her. A beer, whack guy, normal drinking country, and you put Dylan Mulvaney, and I would put them at number 2 for the worst decision, for your people to be like, what an overnight shock, and I don't know how many billions that they lost. But
what? Call the customers for Bud Light are very fratty.
Yeah,
we need to grow.
But at what point we'll go bro? How many more times? How many more instances have to happen until these people actually wake up? Like genuinely wake up? Because it's billions and It's not like we lost $5 million. Okay, we can move on. This is billions and billions of dollars.
So here's your problem. The problem is that the left has complete hegemony in the culture today. And one of the consequences of that problem, A, is that they don't know, but B, is that there are no true consequences. So has she lost her job? If she has lost her job, where is she working now?
Exactly.
Because the left will reinforce these bad behaviors. Even if Bud fires her, someone else will hire her. In fact, they'll hire her and pat themselves on the back for their act of heroism in rescuing her from the persecution of the other company that fired her. They can't get rid of it. Comes full circle. They are so committed to this bad thought, this bad idea that is in their head, that in times of relative peace and relative prosperity, they're willing to just engage in self-flagellation over and over and over again.
Do you know what zombie companies are? Are you familiar with zombie companies? So zombie companies are companies that their actual business model doesn't make money. It only makes money to pay operating expenses and the debt. Aside from that, there's no profit, so they don't have money to invest into it. Okay?
Right.
Zombie companies rely on debt to grow. For example, in 1997 in America, according to the Fed, 1% of companies in America were zombie companies. Today, according to Goldman and according to the Fed, 25% of companies today are zombie companies. By the way, Ford is a zombie company. Sears was a zombie company. They filed bankruptcy. JCPenney was a zombie company. They filed bankruptcy. Toys R Us was a zombie company. They filed bankruptcy. iHeartMedia is a zombie company. They're getting destroyed. They're filing bankruptcy. So what happens with zombie companies, the reason why the increase of zombie companies went from 1% to 25% is because of the interest rates going to 0%, okay, for as long as it did. And when it went to 0%, these companies are like, hey, let's just keep getting that. By the way, Ford just got $9.3 billion last year. That's how they're surviving. For 3 quarters, they were negative. 3 years, they were negative. And now barely they're coming out of it because Biden gave them $9.3 billion saying, hey, these guys are going to be an EV company. You're not a freaking EV company. No. The other guys are EV companies, but totally get it. So the whole too big to fail, they were afraid to let these companies go out of business. So this whole, the TARP program that they came up with, and most people don't even know what TARP stands for. Can you Google what TARP stands for? Okay, so TARP's, the TARP program, it's just a TARP program. What a good TARP program. A TARP program is Troubled Asset Relief program. Troubled is the T. Troubled asset. So let's bail out troubled asset relief program instead of letting capitalism do its part. Here's a problem. When, like these companies I just said, the Sears, JCPenney, iHeartMedia, Toys R Us, they all filed bankruptcy between 2016 to 2020. Here's what happened. When Trump became president, he appointed Jerome Powell to chair of the Fed. I think it used to be Yellen before. I don't know who it was, but I think he appoints Powell. When Powell comes in, he starts increasing rates. If you go to 2017, rates started increasing. And even Trump wasn't a fan of the fact that he was increasing rates. So when they increase rates, these companies are like, dude, you can't do that. We're trying to borrow money. The only way we can last is through debt. You can't be doing this. So the more, if the interest rates today, Powell keeps them the way he does, companies like Disney and a lot of these other companies have to be bought by somebody else because they're not going to be able to last. A lot of these zombie companies are going to get destroyed the longer rates stay higher. And the correlation between interest rates being high and zombie companies being exposed is identical. And the rates being lower and the increase in zombie companies is identical. So you notice that trend. So at the end of the day, you can pitch the woke shit all you want. Guess what the customer's going to say? Get the hell out of here. And then you're going to be another zombie company that once was a great company where the founder's crying, watching down if he's in heaven saying, what the hell did you guys do to that company that I put tens of thousands of hours of my life being away from the kids, the family, road. I was sick. I was still doing conference calls, the anxiety, the panic attacks, the times I was dealing with health issues that I couldn't advertise because God forbid, I had to meet a secret doctor so the public wouldn't talk about it. They're about to pay a price, and I'm willing to say the person that controls which one of these companies get exposed as zombie companies is Jerome Powell. If Jerome Powell decides to decrease the rates, it'll be the return of the zombies. Literally, it'll be the return of the zombies. But if Jerome Powell keeps the rates high for another year and a half and he doesn't get fired, you're going to see the next year and a half, 2 years, some of these guys getting picked up by other people who are better at operating expenses, who are better at making profits, who are better at running a company. And, we had a couple of the competitors. They're raising money, buying companies. They're raising money, buying companies. They're raising money, buying companies when rates are very low. Okay. Then all of a sudden your rates, if they're adjustable and all of a sudden it's going up and it re-triggers every 2 to 3 years, you're like, hey, we're okay at 3%. We can't freaking pay this at 7.5%. You saw what happened to the interest rates. What the hell are we talking about right now? And then you're like, you got to be cheaper on the way you're spending the money. So they can do this all they want. The market, if rates stay high, is going to topple a lot of these companies and they'll get exposed. And Bob is just trying to sell it because Disney stock, it's just going to go lower and lower and lower. And Apple is sitting there saying, yeah, we'll buy you, but in another year, we'll save another 33%. Why would we buy today? We're still going to buy you. You'll be an Apple company, but we'll wait. We wait a year, we'll save $50 billion. And I know they like to have their cash.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.